You're here. Welcome to the Masterminding Success podcast. They say if you want to be successful in business and in life, then surround yourself with successful people. So pull up a seat. The mastermind is about to begin.
Glad you could join us for another episode of the Masterminding Success podcast. We're your host, Keith Wheeler.
And Nuria Corby.
And what are we talking about today, Nuria?
Today's an interesting episode because we're talking about mistakes others make. And hopefully it's others and not us. But we've made plenty of mistakes as well, haven't we?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. And,
Yeah.
that's all part of learning, right? But, I was told, I think it was my grandfather told me a long time ago, that a smart man learns from his mistakes, but a wise man learns from others' mistakes. And so the goal for today is to kind of help everybody when it comes to self-publishing books to maybe save on the heartache, save on the time, the money, whatever, that by learning from others' mistakes that we've seen. And when I say others, many times these have been mistakes I've made. But yeah, I mean, today specifically, we're focusing on things not to forget to do when it comes to your book, when it comes to publishing or whatever. We could do many episodes with that premise of, mistakes people make. But yeah, there's a lot of things I've seen people just forget to do within the business of publishing books. Like I said, some I've done, many of them I've done, but having done this now for almost a decade, there are definitely things that tend to be more frequently forgotten, I think.
I agree. I'm trying to think of what they could be. And the first thing that came into my mind, and I know I keep talking about it, but it's true. Don't forget to create your A+ content is one of them, because
Excellent, yeah.
I'm still seeing a lot of pages, book sales pages, and I want to find out more about the book. And I say, oh, let's have a look at their A+ content. And there's nothing.
Yeah.
And it's such a lost opportunity for people to showcase their book, tell people what it's about, what can it help with, and the visual side of it is so important, because when I see a book, especially when I was writing mine, I always look at the competition and I think, what are they doing? And I really look at their A+ content and I think, wow, what can I learn from that? Can I do something similar when I like it? When I don't like it, I think, oh, I better not do that. So there's a lot. And of course, for the customers, it's so important to have A+ content, because I don't buy books easily if there is no A+ content. I'm not very inclined to buy the book unless I know the book and I know what it's about. Are you the same? Do you rather see more information about the books?
I would. Yeah, absolutely. There's so many different reasons. I know a complaint that a lot of authors have is it's so hard to get book reviews and things like that. And that's absolutely true. It definitely can be difficult. But A+ content is something that you can do from the beginning that will make your book, that will give more information about your book, even if it doesn't have any reviews. And when A+ content first came out, it was one of those things that if you had A+ content on your book, it helped your book, it made your book stand out. Now it's to the point where it's so ingrained in what businesses are doing, both traditional and people that are independently published, that not having it is almost an immediate detriment to your brand and to your book. And so it went from this is a great bonus to where it's pretty much a necessity. If it's available in your country, absolutely having A+ content on your books, I would say is close to being like not even a question. Like, absolutely have to have it. It doesn't have to be, super extravagant. You don't have to have, I think they allow up to 5 different modules. You don't have to have all 5, even as little as 1, but something. And if you do have only 1, I would definitely say make it something visual. Make it so that way it shows more about your book than just the cover can tell. And then of course, and we could do a whole episode just on A+ content, but the, if you're going to do more than one, I would definitely say another option would be using, assuming you have more than one book, using that comparison chart. That comparison chart is a game changer for most of the brands that I publish under, most of the pen names, because it lets you show, what this book has, but it also lets you show it in comparison to the other books. So you're basically promoting your other books right there on that same sales page, and they could just click on it and immediately go and buy, add it to their cart. They don't have to leave your page. Just so many possibilities with that one type of A+ content. But in general, absolutely, A+ content is one of the main things that I've seen people forget to do. Maybe they're still back, they were publishing when it was, just coming out. And so it's like, oh, well, I don't have to do it. It's just, it's an added thing. But no, at this point in the business in 2025, I would say if it's available, absolutely add A+ content.
Yeah, definitely. And I think that A+ content, the way people should think about it is as, when you go into a shop and they display products in a really fancy way to make them look good. A+
Right.
content is almost like the display in the shop or like the packaging of something. The
Right.
better it's packaged, the more it will sell. I mean, that it's absolutely true that we do psychologically respond better to things that have nice packaging and to things that are displayed in a nice way. And that's what A+ content is for your book, which is a product, and that is the way to display your product. So definitely that is one of the things that I keep harping on about A+ content, because I still see so many people not doing it, and it's a missed opportunity. I don't even advertise my books unless I've done the A+ content, because I don't feel
Right.
that my book listing is finished unless I've got it done.
Right.
So yeah, it's really important to do that.
Yeah, I agree. And also it just, it again, it goes back to, it's almost like, depending on what images you use and things like that, it's almost like a commercial built into your Amazon sales page. The whole, it's got the book description and things like that. That whole page's job is to sell your book. That's its job. So the more things you can have in there that can appeal to your audience to get them to click that buy now, it's just increasing your chances of getting that sale. And they A+ content doesn't have to take a lot of time to create. You don't have to create. You can actually create it before you even publish your book. And then just link it to your book. When it's time. And so if you already have a book published, you can absolutely still go back and add it to it. So it's not like it's, oh, I already published that book, it's done. No, especially if it's a book that's not getting sales, try it. Try adding A+ content. See what it can do. Now, obviously, A+ content in and of itself is not going to increase visibility or anything like that. It's going to increase your chances of getting a sale once they do get to that page. So you make the most of everybody that gets to your sales page you want to buy. And so it just enhances the opportunity.
Absolutely. And I still hear a lot of people saying, oh, how do people get to show the inside of their book? Like they see some of the books that have
Right.
inside pages, and it's probably because they're not published on KDP. They're probably books that people print themselves and then send to customers. So it's not a KDP product. So that's the reason why they have photos of the interior and that.
Right.
And they still ask, why don't we have that? Well, we have A+ content. We
Right.
have an even better way to showcase our books, So I don't understand when people place that much importance to the look inside feature when
Right.
you've got A+ content. It's so much better because you're in control of what you're showing the customer. You
Right.
can't control the look inside feature so well, not in the way that you can control the A+ content. So it's just a person who wants to sell their book and who's really trying to put all the effort in definitely would create A+ content.
Right.
It's not worth rushing it. And I've created A+ content because you said earlier you can do it later on. You don't have to do it immediately. I've created A+ content for books that I wrote 3 years ago.
Yep.
because we didn't have
Absolutely.
that option.
Exactly.
And we have that option now. So now I make sure all my books have A+ content. Yeah. And that's a
Yeah.
lot of work, but it's worth doing.
Yeah, but I mean, it's a lot of work because you're doing it for multiple books. But I mean, when if you just make it part of your process, and whether you're creating it yourself, you hire somebody on Fiverr to create your A+ content, whatever, it doesn't matter. The important thing is getting that done.
Yeah.
Because the other thing, comparing it to what you're saying, like with the look inside feature, the look inside feature, that's an extra click that your customer has to do, and so this isn't. It's literally right there on the sales page. And chances are they're going to scroll down anyway because they want to look at the reviews. And so and especially on a smartphone, which many people are, do all their shopping on their phones now, that's going to be one of the first things that they see. And so, psychologically, the more images people see, that are enticing them, that not just images just to be there, something that seeing if you're writing a fiction book, if your book is fiction, and one of the images you have on there is somebody relaxing by the poolside reading a book, and it's got your cover on it, well, then they can see themselves doing that.
Yeah.
Well, I can see myself relaxing or in a hammock or whatever. So again, going to your audience, depending on what they would find appealing, then absolutely, something is like that. And there's, like I said, there's plenty of people you can hire to do it inexpensively. There's plenty of options. You can do it on. I mean, you can do it on Canva. You can do it on BookBrush. So many different possibilities.
Definitely. So yeah, definitely a very important thing to remember to do.
Yeah. So one thing that I see people forget, and really, it seems to be, regardless of what genre they write in, or low content, no content books, is they do all the promotion and bragging about their book after they create it. And what they don't do is they don't start that buzz while they're still working on it. Let people know that you're working on it. Give updates, whether it's, if you're writing it and just finished writing first draft of chapter 1 or whatever, getting people engrossed and enticed already gets that buzz going, and it makes people feel like they're part of the journey with you. And then when the book does come out, they feel like they have a vested interest and they want to see how it turned out. So everything from, hey, I've got an idea for a new book I think I'm going to write. This is what it's going to be. Or like I said, if it's low content, no content books, I'm thinking about creating this puzzle book on this topic. And then, hey, I got the first 10 pages of the puzzles done. I got some mazes done, whatever you want to do. Again, getting people updated and engrossed. And I'm not just talking about like newsletters. Obviously, if you have a newsletter, you can do it there, but even just your social media, and again, people love images. We already talked about that, but an image of one of your pages or an image of you writing or something. Again, people will feel like, I heard a survey done where like 80% of the people say that they want to write a book at some point in their life. And so that means that those people that are just your friends on Facebook or whatever, many of them have that desire to write a book or to create a book, but haven't done it. So now they feel like they're doing it through you. And so even more reason why you're sharing it. You're not just kind of boosting your chances of getting sales on your book once it's published, but you're also, they're kind of living through you. And so they're going to be just as interested in it, especially as you start giving regular updates. If you just post one time, hey, I got an idea for a book, and then you never say anything again, well, okay, great. And then, no one's going to, give two hoots. They're going to forget about it because life happens. But if you're giving regular updates, then, people are going to start commenting. They're going to start asking you questions or whatever. How are you publishing this? What are you doing? And then when you've got the book cover, oh, here's here are 4 ideas of book covers I'm going to do. What do you guys think? Or whatever. Again, getting people engrossed in it and feeling like they have a vested interest in it. And then once the book comes out, selling it to them is going to be a heck of a lot easier. It's not even going to be selling. You've been selling it the whole time. So yeah, just sharing the journey as you're going instead of waiting until, the end of until you're done. I mean, think of a movie, we know about movies, how long before they actually come out, I mean, I mean, they don't tell us about a movie, oh, it's coming out, it came out yesterday. No, we know about it months in advance.
Yeah, I think that is such a good point, and my feeling about that is that a lot of people probably don't think about that because I never thought of that. When I first started, I never ever thought about promoting my book before I
Right.
actually write it or before I create it. It's only something I came across when I started publishing children's books, when I heard about people, getting better readers, and
Hmm.
there was a difference in how people promoted their books compared to low content books.
Right.
And I hadn't thought about it before. So it's probably something that not everyone thinks about. And it's such a great way to actually give your book momentum and get
Right.
those early reviews in as well, if possible. Not that I don't give reviews that much of an importance nowadays because it's just so hard to get them. But there are ways to get reviews, and this
Right.
is one of them. And it's such a good idea and all people have to do is just do it through their social media if there's no other way to
Right.
do it, which is, exactly what you said, and it's so easy. And yeah, it's one of the things that I never thought about at the beginning, and now I know better, but it's not something many people do. I haven't
Yeah.
seen many people or many, I mean, I know all the well-known authors that I follow do
Right.
it,
Right.
but I haven't seen many of the more independent authors do that a lot. And I wonder whether they haven't thought about it or don't
Right.
know about it.
Yeah, I would say it's probably either they don't think about it, uh, or they don't think people are going to care, you know.
Yeah.
But again, with so many people that have that dream to publish a book, you'll be surprised at how many people do care. I mean, personally, I care more about the idea that you're writing a book than I do about seeing a picture of what you ate for dinner last night. I'll tell you that. You know what I mean? And so it's like if take that energy that you're taking to take a picture of your green bean casserole or whatever it is, and share what you're writing. And again, you don't have to, if you're worried about someone stealing your ideas, I can I can go on and on about stealing people's ideas, but you don't have to go into a lot of detail. You don't have to say, what chapter one's about. Just, hey, I am so excited. I just finished the first draft of chapter one. Just something simple as that, or however you want to word it. There's such a big deal comes with in the month of November when they do NaNoWriMo, which is National Novel Writing Month. What about the other 11 months out of the year? It's share. And again, I know I talk a lot about writing, but the same thing can be used for puzzle books or whatever you're working on. Sharing the ideas of, I've got an idea for a book. This is what I'm going to do. And just put, like I said, it doesn't take long to put on your social media, and it takes about as much energy as taking a picture of your dinner. So why
Yeah.
not? I mean, people aren't, I can't, if anybody's going to unfollow you because you're sharing what you're working on, then you probably don't want them following you
No.
anyway. So I think I'm hoping it's just people didn't think of to share ahead of time. So I'm hoping that, people listening and watching on YouTube that they do now have that idea. I can't imagine. I hope it's not because people are afraid to do it. If you are, then I would say, don't worry about it. It's not going to take a lot of your time to do it.
Yeah.
Like I said, you don't have to give a lot of detail, but and I think just like with anything in this business, it comes down to being consistent. You don't have
Yeah.
to give an update every time finish a chapter or finish, a page or whatever, but every week or every 2 weeks or every month or whatever works for you, just giving regular updates. Doesn't matter how frequently they are, as long as they're regular, not just, hey, I had an idea for a book, and then, 6 months later, the book's ready. Okay, great.
Yeah.
They didn't feel like they were on that journey with you,
Yeah.
and so they don't feel like if they don't feel like they're part of it, then like I've said before, then they don't have a vested interest, and they don't feel like they're, you know, that they're in it with you. So
Yeah.
it's like I said, it's not difficult to do. I do agree that I think that most of it is is people just don't think of it. And I don't want to confuse this with creating a pre-order or any of that other stuff. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about literally just on social media, or if you have a newsletter, in newsletters, just sharing your journey as you're creating your book, not just waiting until, hey, the book's going to launch in 2 weeks or anything like that.
Yeah, that is so important. And you made a good point there, saying that you need to involve them in your journey. And a really good way to do that is to ask questions as well and involve them that way. You made me laugh earlier because you said you'd rather look at that than someone's dinner. And I
Yeah.
have to say, when I post pictures of my dinner or whatever food, I get far more engagement than with
Right?
anything else.
Right? That's what I'm saying. Like,
But I know, so I don't know, but you could say, for example, I'm having this idea to write a book about, what do you think? And then when you throw
right.
that question out there, you might get some engagement from people. Or if you've got your cover ready, what do you think of this cover? Or what do you involve people as much as
Right.
possible, because they love to be involved in things like that. And I don't do that often enough. I should do that more often as well. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, and if you have to post pictures of your food, that's great. But why, do it, have a picture of that, and then, with you writing next to it or something like that. You know what I mean? Like,
Exactly.
combine the two.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think, I mean, I say it jokingly. I mean, I've done it before, but yeah, it's definitely just about letting people join you for the journey, I guess, is the best way to put it. It's, think of it less as you feeling salesy and you feeling selfish by talking about yourself. Think of it more as you're doing something for them. If 80% of your friends have a desire to write a book and you didn't know it, then now that 80% of the population do want to write a book, then you know that there's a good chance that 80% of the people following you are going to be interested in that, whether they
Yeah.
comment or not. But if you give an update and then, "Oh, I'm thinking about writing this book," and then, a couple weeks later, you're like, "Hey, so excited, I finished the first chapter." You'll be surprised, because you're being consistent with your updates, that you'll start getting more and more comments, more and more feedback. And even if it's only one or two people, that's one or two people that are taking that journey with you that wouldn't have if you didn't post anything.
Absolutely. And you just made another really important point. You said that maybe people feel they're being too salesy when they talk about their book. And I know exactly how that feels, because I feel like that. I don't like being too salesy with anything. And I'm in the wrong job, really, because sometimes you have to be salesy and it's hard. But the way I look at it now is, I think of it, your book is a bit like your baby. And which parent doesn't like talking about their baby?
Right, right.
You love your baby and you like to show it off, and we should treat our books in the same way somehow. Maybe not the same way, but you know what I mean.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's a similar situation. We should be proud of what we've produced, and then it's not salesy. Then it's just talking about an achievement that we feel connected to, and that maybe other people might feel connected to. So yeah, that was a really good point, because we do feel, as writers, most of us are introverts, I think, and it does feel very salesy sometimes. It's not a thing that comes naturally, but
Yeah.
it's something that can be learned and practiced.
I can understand that. Here's the way I think about it. And I agree 100% with what you said. By doing it this way, and you're not selling, you're sharing, then when your book is ready, you have to do less selling,
Yeah,
because you've already been sharing the whole time.
yeah,
So especially if you don't want to be salesy, this is a great way to get people on the journey with you. And again, this way they feel like they're involved in it. And so then you don't have to be a salesy with them. You don't have to say, hey, come buy my book, leave a review, whatever. With these people, it's just a matter of, I'm so excited, my book finally is live on Amazon.
Yeah.
But because they've already gone through that whole journey with you, there's a much better chance they're going to go and take a look without you selling anything. Without you saying, hey, buy my book, hey, it's on sale. None of that. You didn't say any of that.
Yeah.
You just follow. And it seems even less salesy because you've already been sharing your journey. Of course, you're going to share the apex of your journey. You're going to you're going to share when, I got my very first 5-star review. Those are things that you're just sharing, you're not selling.
Yeah.
It's when I see people only publish my book's on sale. Leave me a review, whatever. That's when it's salesy because you haven't shared any of this journey with me. And so why would I go buy it? Why would I leave you a review? I have no interest in it.
Yeah.
But because I followed your journey, I am interested. And so again, it's not selling at all. It's just one more update.
Absolutely. I'm going to write that in my diary. I have to share my next book.
There you go.
I am writing another book, and I haven't shared my journey so far.
Well, there you
so
go.
it's definitely something it's so true. Sometimes we just forget to do
Yeah.
things and they seem so obvious. So
Yeah.
it's something
It's
I need to do.
I mean, and don't get me wrong, I am by no stretch of the imagination perfect at this. And there's definitely some of my pen names that I do it more frequently with than others. But the ones that I've done it with, that's what I've seen. I've seen that the people, you might get a couple likes on your comment the first time, and the second time you get a couple more, and then the third time you're getting comments, and then next thing you know, you've got people buying your book on pre-order or buying your book on sale or the first day or whatever because they without me even asking because they just I just say so excited the book goes live. I've actually done it where I say the book goes live on Friday and I don't say anything else about it, and on Friday I'm getting sales because people already like I said, I guess journey is the best way to put it. They've gone through that journey with me. Great, comparison that you did was like having a baby. You're going to, many women are, share pictures as, they start to show or pictures of the first
Yeah.
sonogram and whatever, very seldom do you see people who, you didn't even know they were pregnant. Next thing you know, they're posting about, a baby shower, like, right? Like that very seldom happens.
Yes.
It's the same thing, these are our book babies. So again, just I mean, it's not something that you have to do. I mean, obviously none of this you have to do, but I've seen a lot of positive success by doing it. And again, I am definitely, most people won't know this, but I'm definitely actually an introvert, and I definitely don't like to be salesy. I've done that. I've been salesy. I've had to sell vacuum cleaners. I mean, I've done that. And so anything I can do to not be salesy and just be genuine and just invite people into my world and this is what it is. And so I've seen so much more success with those brands and and pen names than ones that I don't do it with.
Absolutely. I think that was a good one. Things not to forget. And I'm just trying to think of another one. And since we're doing comparisons, and I compared the last one to the A plus content, I compared that to being the packaging of a product. So think about what would be the shop window of your product. And I think for me, that would be our author page. And again, I see lots of
Absolutely.
I see a lot of people that don't bother with an author page. And I think for me, that's been a really big thing because people can follow you on your author page, and
Yes.
Amazon then sends an email every time you produce a new book. And I've got one of my brands, I've got over 5,000 followers on Amazon, which I think is amazing.
Right.
And it's the one that produces constant sales for me as well. So
Yeah.
yeah, I think having your author page is a really important thing not to forget to do.
Yeah, so many people don't want to have author websites and all that other stuff, and I can understand that because it's just one more thing to have to monitor. But what would be better than having an author website? I don't know, maybe having an author website on Amazon. I mean, for free. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like you don't have to do, WordPress or any of that other stuff. Like you go into it and you put whatever information you want, put your bio, put your picture of either you or your latest book or whatever you want to be your image, and then you literally click, that's my book, that's my book. I mean, it can be as easy as that. Can you go beyond that and add, link to your blog and all that other stuff? Yes, you can absolutely go beyond that. But at least do what I would say is the bare minimum. Create the Author Central page. It's free. It's a free page for all of your books to be on Amazon. Like, if so, like you said, people can follow you, but also they can, if they like one of your books, they can see all your other books, especially if you're doing books in maybe, under one pen name, but maybe different genres. If you write romance, but you also write children's books, the moms who read your romance book might not know you write children's books, but now on your Author Central page, they can see that. And that's one of the examples of times when I wouldn't separate my pen names is if your target audience, assuming you're not doing spicy romance, but if your target audience is, parents, moms, things like that, and you write children's books, I wouldn't use a separate pen name for that, because the kids aren't the ones buying your children's book. It's going to be the parents. And so letting the parents know, hey, I also do these.
Yeah, absolutely. I think you just made another really important point there, and that was
I'm on a
to
roll.
talk. You're on fire today. You were talking about knowing your audience, basically, and that
Right.
is another really big thing not to forget to do. Research your audience, know who they are, because you just gave a perfect example. If you can somehow combine your books to fit the same audience, then you can have different types of books. But if the audience is the same, they can all go under one pen name. And it's always a good idea to have a variety of books under one pen name, because you have more products for sale
Right.
that way.
Right.
And I mean, I can think of that brand I just mentioned earlier of mine. That is a very specific audience, and I can't really make books that don't fall under that
Yeah.
umbrella. I have to always make the same type of books for that brand. But then I've got other brands where I can be a little bit more, a bit wider, where the audience, like
Right.
you said, if they're reading romance novels, but they have children and they also buy children's books, and maybe I'm trying to think of what other books could fall under the same audience, but I think you get my drift. It's basically, what do people, for example, puzzle book enthusiasts, they might like different types of puzzles. You don't only have to do one type of puzzle for them, because
Right.
that audience might be interested in different types. So it's always really good to know who your audience is in terms of knowing what kind of books to create. So I think that is a really important point. And when you said that light bulb just went up in my head. That's
Yeah.
another thing not to forget to do.
Yeah. I mean, it's very similar to just, thinking of, don't just think about your niche and the genre that you write in, or if you're doing low content, no content books, the type of books that you're doing. Think about, and this goes really with any business, think about your buyer, the user of that. What else are they interested? What other things do they do? So if you write nonfiction books about tennis, then those tennis players might be interested in a tennis themed puzzle book. So again, it's all, under the same, you would use it under the same umbrella, the same pen name. So yeah, that's just, again, one of the things is, do not forget to create your Amazon Author Central page. It's like I said, and I would say the two things that are imperative when it comes to creating it is, I would say that you absolutely have to have some kind of image. If it doesn't show it, then people are going to think it doesn't have to be you, but they're going to think it's fake. It's just the way people think. And so if it doesn't have any image, then they're not going to even give it a look, I think. And then I would say some kind of bio. It doesn't have to be super detailed. And I know a lot of people, especially when they're doing either low content, no content books, or they're writing under pen names. They're nervous about putting an image up there. The easiest thing I would say is you can make it an image of whatever your best-selling book is, or whatever you're the proudest of, or whatever. It doesn't have to be a person. It could be a picture of your dog. It could whatever. And the bio, honestly, you can literally just have Chat GPT or some other AI create it for you. Don't go over top and say things that are, this person, this person's a doctor and all that other stuff. But you can, just little fun things. That's what people are interested in more. They don't care about your profession. They care more about, that you're human, so what are silly little things about this pen name that people might not know?
Yeah.
Just something like that. So again, it doesn't have to be super lengthy, but those two things I would definitely include, and of course, selecting at least one book that you can attribute to that pen name. But that's really it. Like, you don't have to do all the other stuff, the adding images and hooking it up to your blog or any of that other stuff. Just the main thing is that it's a way on Amazon for people to follow you, and it's a way on Amazon for people to see everything that you have right there on, again, Amazon, which is a sales marketplace. It's not like other social media. It's a difference between what we call a cold audience and a warm audience. The audience on Amazon are a warm audience. They are there to buy. That's why they're on Amazon. They're not there sharing pictures of their dinner. They're there to buy. And so why not have followers there that are literally, like you said, will get an email when you publish your next book?
Yeah, definitely something not to forget. That is a great one. And I'm trying to think of another one, but
I would
I'm not
say,
sure.
yeah, one of the ones that is really early on, I would say is, do not forget to research your niche, not just with, whether there's an audience there or a competition or any of that other stuff, but, look at the covers, look at the pricing that they're doing, looking at the BSR bestseller rank on Amazon and seeing the books that are selling, what are their price ranges? You don't want to be the highest, you don't want to be the most expensive, but you also don't want to be the dirt cheap either, because people are going to think that it's that low because it's poor quality.
Yeah.
Same thing with the covers. You want to see what is selling, because what the kind of covers that sell now may not be the same type of covers that sold last year. People's interests change. There might be things that are different. There's certain things depending on the genre that are, you're going to have, if it's a romance book, you're going to have a couple probably on the cover. If it's a steamy romance, then, whatever. But it also, what other things are there, what are the color schemes that are on there, things like that. And I'm not saying you have to go into it, super in depth, but knowing ahead of time what is selling in the niche that you're creating a book for can help you set yourself up for success before you even publish your book.
Yeah, that is such a good point again. And that just reminded me of when you said researching. And I love researching in different ways. And one of the ways I like to research is I go into bookshops and I stand there for about 10 minutes looking at all the books on the shelves. And I try to find trends. And when I say trends, I mean things they have in common, all of them. And I've noticed recently that a lot of non-fiction books are very text heavy on the front cover. They've got really bold, big texts and a really plain background. So it's probably just like a red background with pale yellow writing on top,
Right.
but really big letters. And I've seen several books like that now. So it's a really good way to pick up on design trends, if I can call them that.
Yeah.
So it's research is not just about, like you said, it's not just about finding out whether that's a profitable niche or, is it worth making a book in that niche? That's important, but it's also important to check the designs of the book covers, to check the way the title is written, because that's another one that people still do wrong, where they write lots of keywords and call that a title.
Yeah.
And that's not really the way. You'll never find a book in a bookshop or in a library that has a title that's just a bunch of keywords. You know, if you look at books, you can tell whether it's a professionally written book compared to some of the books you see on Amazon. You know, so it's such a good idea to do that. And I think not many people do that. They kind of do very minimal research, and it's so important. Same with the feedback that some of the books have. You know, it's really good to read all of them and see what do people like about my competition? What do they not like about the competition? And that's really been one of the things that's helped me a lot in creating books that are a little bit different from what's already out there. So yeah, that was a really good point as well. Yeah.
And you kind of led into another one which is very similar, which is looking at the reviews of your competition. And those, I have found those to be so helpful, not only in what to include or exclude from my content. And again, this is whether you're doing written books or low content, no content. But also, if I see a trend when it comes to things that people are complaining about, I'll actually use that. And I think I've talked about this in a previous episode, but I will actually use that as a sales point when I do my Amazon ads, you know, where I'll say, tired of books like, you know, that have blah, 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 you know, this book, you know, basically this book doesn't. However, you know, obviously I wouldn't word it like that, but I've used, you know, when I see a trend in the negative reviews, not just on one book, but on multiple books, you know, people are sick and tired about all the fluff. They just, you know, on a nonfiction book, they just want to get to, you know, the topic. That's a great way to use that as a sales point to make your book even better, again, on your Amazon ads. Because when people see that, they're like, yes, I'm sick and tired of that. Yes, I'll click on this, you know? And again, it's basically just, you're getting information from buying customers. And so those buying customers typically will not just buy one book. You know, they may buy one book at a time, but they're going to come back and buy again, you know? And so why not, again, like I said early on, learn from others' mistakes and make your book better, both with the content as well as if you're running Amazon ads, using, you know, consistent negative things that you've heard about the others, about your competition. I mean, if you're running a brick and mortar business and you know that your competition is doing this wrong and everybody can't stand the fact that they're doing this, and you do a commercial, you're going to point out the fact that you don't do that. You know, it's no different with your Amazon ads. And so, yeah, absolutely. Just in general, don't forget to look at the reviews that your competition is giving.
Yeah, very good point again. Yeah.
And similarly, once your book is published, don't forget to look at your own reviews for that exact same reason. You know, look at what people like about your book.
Yeah.
Look at what people don't like about it. You know, if it's something you can't control, like, you know, the fact that the book came damaged because Amazon still doesn't put their books in corrugated boxes, can't do anything about that. But if they're complaining about the grammar, if they're complaining about, if you're creating low content books and the lines are too small or too thin or too dark or too light, whatever, again, those are things you can change either in the book currently and update it, or things that you can make sure that you don't do again in your next book. So
Absolutely.
both pre-creating your book as well as, afterwards, book reviews, both on your own books as well as on your competition, is a great way to continue to get better. Because in life, my goal is to always be better than I was yesterday. Mm-hmm. And when it comes to the book business, it's the same way. I want this book I'm working on now to be better than the last one. And Absolutely. I do the same thing with my YouTube videos. I always want to do a little bit better. And so, and again, it's so much easier to learn from mistakes others have made than you having to spend the money on creating a book that nobody likes. And then you find out, oh, well, if I'd have just read their reviews, I would have known they didn't like that.
Yeah, that's so true. And also not to take it too badly if someone gives you a bad review. If it's something you can learn from, then that is, it's a good thing, because you can rectify the mistake. You can either upload a new interior for the book or whatever you have to do. And if it's something you can't change, for the future not to do the same, not to make the same mistake again. And to me, it's all a learning experience. So sometimes you just learn and you
Right.
carry on. Yeah, but
Yeah, and as I say, you have to remember. I mean, you have to have a little bit of a take it with a grain of salt. You have to know that everybody has their own opinion, whether they're right or they're wrong. Some people just like to be heard, but I look at it this way: even Stephen King has 1-star reviews, and so it just comes with it. You just have to don't take it personally. If you can learn from it, great. If not, move on.
yeah, absolutely, I agree.
I would say another thing that I've seen people that tend to forget, and that is don't forget to promote your other books inside your book. Like if it's a series, obviously you would do that, but as long as it's in the same niche. So like before I said, if you're creating a nonfiction books about tennis, but then you have a tennis themed puzzle book, share that in the back of your nonfiction book, let people know that each other exist.
Yeah. I think, you kind of know which books can go together. I've started
Right.
doing that with all the books that I publish under my own name
Hmm.
because they kind of fit a general sort of
Right.
self-help niche, even though they're very different, maybe. But
Right.
and I think it works. It works well to do that. So it's I think you know roughly which books you can
Right.
fit into one box and which ones you can fit into
Right.
another one. Yeah,
I mean,
that's a good point.
especially those people who, like I said earlier, don't want to create your own author website.
Yeah,
Think of Golden Books, and I mean, they listed all the different books that they had,
yeah,
and so, even if, under my brand, and this is something that under my own brand I don't do is, I mean, I have nonfiction books, I have fiction books, I have children's books, but they're all like my audience is all the same. And so I absolutely should include all of them in the back matter of my books. And places like Draft to Digital, they automatically do it. You click a little box and they will share all of that. And so it's, it's absolutely something that we should do is, share books if it's completely unrelated, especially if it's in a different pen name, obviously you're not going to share it, but anything that you publish under that same pen name, I would share in the back of your book, just on one page. Doesn't have to be, you don't have to show the pictures of the covers or any of that other stuff. Just you can just list them, and then people can go online and go on Amazon and look them up if they're interested.
yeah, definitely. It's a good way to just advertise your books more.
Right,
So whatever you can do, every little bit helps to promote your
right,
books.
right.
Yeah,
And if someone's already gotten to the end of your book, then chances are they liked your content.
yes,
And so,
exactly.
especially if you don't like being salesy, here's a great way that you don't have to be salesy. You're just
Yeah,
including it.
yeah,
If you don't look at it as you're not, don't look at it as you're selling your book. Look at it as you're giving them offerings to someone who's already interested. You're not making them buy it. You're not making them go there. You're not auto directing them. You're literally just, if you're interested, here it is. And
yeah,
and the great thing is you create it one time and you don't have to create it again. You can update it. Like I've done it in other pen names and I don't update it when I come out with a new book. I'll just include the other ones
the next book.
in the next book. Right. And,
Yeah,
and I, in retrospect, maybe I could add in there, plus, something like plus more to come or something like that I could add. But yeah, but that's just, again, just something that is easy to do. It's literally one page in your book. And it, I mean, what does it hurt? Like I said, create one page that could bring you sales. Like, why would you not do it?
yeah.
I,
And
and I think it
most
goes back to people just don't think about it.
Yeah, and most books do that. It's called the also buy page.
Right.
So you have an also
Yep.
buy whatever pen name, and then you list all your books. So it's a great way to just tell people what else you've got on offer. And
Right.
like you said, by the time they're at the end of the book, they probably want to know, hopefully, they'll want to know more about
Right.
your books. Yeah.
Just think of it. It's basically the paper version of the Amazon Author Central page.
That's it. Yeah.
So one of the other things, and I don't want to really belabor this too much, but because I know we've talked about this, and this is something that people, in this industry talk about all the time, but I don't think we can have a topic of things not to forget without mentioning, don't forget to get your book edited. And I do mean, regardless of like, it doesn't matter if it's a written book, no content, low content book, get somebody other than you to review it.
Yeah. I think that's a really important point. I mean, I've done that. I used to teach English as a foreign language, and I kind of feel confident, but even so, I think there's always things that you miss and that could be expressed in a different way. And I always get several people to read through especially my written books, just to see that
Right.
everything is okay. And even for my low content books, I do that because even if every page is the same, I think there's always scope to for someone else to spot something that you haven't seen. So I think that is really important. The more people you can involve to check your work, the better. So yeah, that's another really good point. Yeah.
And then the only other thing that I could think of off the top of my head is don't forget to start working on your next book. The best way to keep people coming back is to keep creating. And so just, like I said,
Yeah.
I'm not saying once this book is out, you publish and pray and move on, but yeah, I mean, you need to start working on your next book and again, sharing that journey. And it just becomes this cycle that is once you get familiar with it, it's very easy to replicate. And it kind of, at this point, it just feels like natural for me to and with my ADHD, I have multiple books that I'm in the middle of, but yeah, I'm always working on the next book for that pen name.
Yeah, that is so important, and it's something that I was speaking to my husband about today because we went to a bookshop. Like I said earlier, we look at different books, and we're just we're like forensic scientists when we go
Right.
into a bookshop.
Right.
And they had these great big box sets, and there must have been about 20 books in it. It looked like a cabinet, like a cupboard or something full of books. I think it was Martina Cole or someone, I can't remember, a female author it was. And my husband sort of said, wow, she's produced a lot of books. And I said to him, that's the way to do it. You have to produce lots of books because the more books you produce, and I'm not saying quantity over quality or anything like that.
Correct.
I'm just
Right.
saying that you do need to produce several books because when they read one, they will want to read another one. And then,
Right.
that's why series are very important. And it's just the way it works. People, if they like you, they will want to know more of your stuff. They'll want to read more of your books. So
Right.
that's the way it
Yeah.
works. That's why it's
I
so
mean,
important what you just said. Yeah.
yeah, because I mean, if you read if you read one of my books and you like it, you're not going to reread the same book. I mean, if you are, you don't need to buy it again. You're just going
Yeah.
to keep rereading it. So in order for me to continue to get sales and get repeat customers, I need to continue to create books. Now, if I don't create any more books, that doesn't mean I can't make sales, but I'm not going to get repeat customers because there's nothing else for them to buy from me.
That's
And
right.
so what's the sense in having a following and having dedicated, customers that love your content if you don't give them more of it? It's more for them to buy. Like I said, they might buy a couple more to buy as gifts for people, but that's it. You're not going to, if you've got 2 books as opposed to 10 books, and that's a great thing for people who are just starting out and they don't see the success that they want. And I've said this, I can't tell you how many times over these podcasts, but that I see the biggest difference between people who are successful and people who aren't is the ones that aren't tend to quit beforehand. It's a lot of it has to do with just the amount of books that you have.
Yeah.
And again, not talking about quantity over quality, always having good quality books, but having more options is what it really all comes down to.
And I think that's why it demonstrates as well that this is not a get rich quick scheme.
Right.
It takes time. It takes a lot of time, a lot of effort as well, a lot of work. So it's not something you can create quickly, and it's not something you can get a return quickly from. It's just something that takes time. But if you enjoy it, and I think we can both say we really enjoy this type of
Right.
work, it's such a good way to kind of make a living. If not everybody manages to do that, but whatever little bit
Right.
that can come in is a bonus. And it's like I said, it's not something you can do quickly, but it's really rewarding, and it can be done. But you have to remember to do all these things that we mentioned, really. So otherwise,
Absolutely.
it all helps. Basically, what we said today is it's not something you absolutely have to do. You might not do it, but if you want to see success, I think these are good things to implement that will help you.
Agreed. Agreed. Yeah. I mean, because at the end of the day, it's your business. So whatever you want to do is completely up to you. But if you want to increase your chances of success, these are some things that you definitely don't want to forget.
Yeah.
Now, I know there's probably plenty of ones that we didn't think about. So if
Yeah.
we didn't mention one that you think is something that you've seen people make mistakes, maybe you've made them yourself, and we didn't mention it, you can feel free to, if you're watching this on the YouTube channel, leave it down in the comments. If you're listening to this on the podcast, then there's an option that says send us a text. Send us a text and let us know what we forgot. And maybe we'll do a whole nother episode on ones that we forgot.
That would be amazing. So yeah, I'd really like that if people wrote to us and said what their ideas are on this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Well, this has been another great mastermind, Nuria. Once again, a huge thank you to all our listeners and viewers who came to tag along. If you enjoyed today's mastermind, please consider following or subscribing to the podcast, and maybe even leave us a review and let us know what you thought. Until next time, I'm Keith Wheeler.
And I'm Nuria Corby.
Have a good one.
Bye-bye.
Thanks for joining the Mastermind today. Be sure to follow the podcast on your platform of choice and tell a friend who would enjoy it too. Your support is greatly appreciated. This has been the Masterminding Success Podcast.